Say that this is a labor of love, and I quote an article that I saw with the Hollywood Reporter. But the problem is that a lot of what you've done in this season really has very little to do with Tolkien. So for example, one of the things that you mentioned in terms of the pushback is you say that the pushback is solely coming from the far right, and that everybody who basically is very vehemently opposed to what you've done in this season is like a fascist. But see, the problem is the season that you created is very pro-war. So right off the top, when you're talking about that Tolkien was really like anti-war, the season I've seen is with a Galadriel who really just loves war. You had another point in the article where you said that you had no idea what you were getting into. And as far as that's concerned, like, I really agree with that point, because I think you thought that pretty much what had happened previously with some adaptations of popular books, that everybody was going to lay down on the ground. But unfortunately for you, in this case, everybody didn't lay on the ground, down on the ground. Not everybody gave you a pass for mucking about with Tolkien's worth. I don't want to misquote you, so I'm just going to read exactly what one of you guys said. So Payne looks particularly distressed by the topic. The spirit of Tolkien is about disparate peoples who don't trust one another and look different from one another, finding common ground in friendship and accomplishing big things. So, you know, I'm just going to stop right there. That is correct. But for example, even some of the simple drawbacks, like why are the elves so short? Like, no one's addressed that. You know, as an example, just classically, and my understanding going back to the books themselves, the elves are people of great stature. You know, another quick thing is like the camaraderie aspect. I don't really see much camaraderie being really erected or really outside of like the Harfoot section with the stranger. So Payne goes on to say, that's the spirit we've tried to inculcate into every single comma and period in the show. So once again, I'm not really seeing all of that camaraderie. What I see mostly, because the main character you created is pretty much like a Wonder Woman version of Galadriel, who really is very bellicose. She's really hooked in and addicted to war. So continuing on with what Payne said, that this aspiration would be offensive to people and enrage them, it's very hard for us to understand. That's not what is enraging most people. Most people that you're getting pushback from are not quote unquote like racist trolls. They just aren't. I've read the comments and I've made some of the comments myself. It's just, that's not the case. So what are they protecting? I don't see how people who are saying these things think they're fighting for the good. Well, once again, like when I look at the season that you guys have created, the truth is pretty much like 99% of it is really very dark. And the impression I got just even looking at one of Tolkien's books, like The Hobbit, is there was always light. There was always some kind of connection to the good, the beautiful, and there was really always sort of like this connection to the gods that were created in Middle-earth, and also to their main god, Iluvatar. I think it's Eru Iluvatar. But that, just that kind of idea was pretty much continually present, and at the very least in The Hobbit. So there's a line in episode 7 where Galadriel says, every war is fought from without and within. So once again, the problem with that is that you're quoting and you're defending like pretty much one of the main characters who is probably the most unlikable, and is there, like, the Galadriel you guys created is basically a narcissist. That's basically what she is. It's not just like, oh, I don't like her because she's a strong woman. No, she doesn't. She only thinks of herself. So going back, just because I want to really stay on to what Payne said, There's a line in episode 7 where Galadriel says, every war is fought from without and within. Even if you're fighting for something you think is good, if you do something worse in that fight, then you become evil. I don't see how people who are saying these things think that they're fighting for good. It's patently evil. People giving you hardcore pushback about a creation based on a book that they really, really love, that's not evil. Maybe you might find that that's problematic, but for example, like my take about the season is I'm middle of the road. I can really encompass how I feel with everything with MEH, like meh. You know, there's some episodes that I really, really liked, but fundamentally what I saw is not Tolkien. Maybe it's like a fantasy show on a minor network, quote unquote, but it's not really Tolkien. The dialogue doesn't really evoke that. And then also, where's the camaraderie? Where's the kind of pacifist mindset? Like everybody seems very bellicose and ready for war. And to me, that really doesn't spell Tolkien to me. To me, what is more of surface kind of stuff, like I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about should you have had a Puerto Rican elf or should you have had a black dwarf or these kinds of things, because really that's like not really the core problems with this season. The core problems are dialogue, character development, what you've done with some of the main characters, what you've done with like the timeline. Are you even following any kind of timeline? It seems like, and in the article that you wrote, you were decrying somebody else for turning something into like a Marvel flick. But what I saw was more of a Marvel kind of approach, especially when we go back to the main character Galadriel, who seems to be like the Hulk or something. So anyway, this has ran really long, and much longer than I wanted to. You guys want, give us a like, give me a like, subscribe. I'm out.